Then once you observe what are list out what are the requirements of the customer, then you have to briefly define from your insight what you have gained from the observation. That is what is called defining. Okay, what are your user needs? What are their problems? How each problem can be addressed? Everything has to be defined in a specific terms. Then ideate. So in order to solve each of the problems which you have observed, you have to come out with a solution. That is what is called ideating. So this is a challenging job. Ideating is a challenging job because it is based on your observations, assumptions, creating ideas. Okay. Then, based upon your earlier three stages, that is empathizing, defining, ideating, you bring out a prototype product, small product. That is what is called as creating solutions. So there may be n number of solutions. All the n solutions may not work out. So you have to again uh, narrow it down to a final single product. That is what is called as testing. So whatever the products you have produced with catering to the different needs, that you have to test in the market whether it is able to satisfy the customer, whether the customer is satisfied with your product. So few of the ideas may not work out, few may work well, or you can get some feedback and you can rework on it. So that is the what is for the final stage, testing your solutions. So these are the five stages in any design thinking process. What is it? It is empathizing, then defining. After this stage, ideating, thinking about the how to solve those problems. Then making a small model, prototype model, and testing it whether it is able to satisfy the or solve the customers' problems. Then finally, you are coming out with a final product. You can call it as a validation process. Is the last stage. Okay. So again, if I give in detail the stages, so the design thinking and empathy allows design thinkers to set aside their own assumptions about the world in order to gain insight into the user's needs. So depending upon the time constraints, a substantial amount of information is gathered at this stage to use during the next stage and to develop the best possible understanding of the user needs, problems, and underlying the development of that particular product. That is what is called as a design thinking in brief. So during the define stage, you put together all the informations which you have gathered during the empathizing stage. This is where you will analyze your observations and synthesize them in order to define the core problem and that which you and your team have identified up to this point. You should seek to define the problem as a problem statement in a human-centered manner. So whatever the problem statement that you are defining, it should be focused upon the human requirements. So as an example or as an illustration, so instead of defining the problem as your own wish or need of the company, such as we need to increase our product market share among young teenage girls by 5%, instead of defining your statement like this, a better way of doing is to define the problem is would be teenage girls need to have nutritious food in order to thrive, be healthy and grow. So if you can able to specify this kind of a problem statement, which is a human-centered approach, then you can come out with more numerous ideas in the next stage. Okay. So the defense stage will help the designers in your team gather great ideas to establish features, functions, form, fitness into your product. Okay. That will allow them to solve the problem, at the very least allow users to resolve issues themselves with a minimum of difficulty. So if you are able to define your product in a human centric approach, you can generate, there is quite a lot of possibility that you can develop many ideas with minimum difficulty. Okay. So during the third stage of the design thinking process, designers are ready to start generating ideas. There are hundreds of ideation techniques such as brainstorming, brain fright, worst possible idea, and scamper. So brainstorming and worst possible idea sessions are typically used to stimulate free thinking and to expand the problem space. It is important to get as many ideas or problem solutions as possible at the beginning of the ideation phase. This is an experimental phase, and the aim is to identify the best possible solutions for each of the problems identified during the first three stages. So lastly, the solutions are implemented within the prototypes, and one by one they are investigated and either accepted, improved, or re-examined or rejected on the basis of users' experience. So by the end of the stage, the design team will have a better idea of the constraints inherent to the product and the problems that are present, and have a clear view of how real users would behave, think, and feel when interacting with your end product. Okay. So then the final stage of the five-stage model, but an iterative process, is the results generated during the testing phase are often used to redefine one or more problems. So even during this stage, alterations and refinements can be carried out to develop a deep understanding of the product and its users as much as possible. Okay. So this is in brief about design thinking or critical thinking. So we have also invited um, experts from T Hub. They will join shortly. So before that, let us have a let me introduce them. They are Abhinav Gupta and G Nair. Prasad. ధనరాజ్ తీసుకురా. Abhinav Gupta is a lead financial vertical at T Hub and advises startups on product development and scaling up. In his stint with the National Payments Corporation of India, he was closely working with the developer community, startups, and banks to launch next generation fintech products and has been actively involved in launching payment products like UPI, BHM, RuPay. His interest in opening banking and API strategy has inducted him in research fellow at CIIE IIM Ahmedabad and currently exploring the perception and impact of open banking products on financial inclusion's customer segment of India. As an author, he published over 15 research papers on consumer behavior, marketing strategies, digital banking in various global journals. He is a regular speaker on Indian fintech ecosystem at various organizations and educational institutions. He was conferred with the Jubilant Organizations System Award for Entrepreneurial Excellence for the year 2013. So this is a brief profile about Abhinav Gupta, who is working for eHub. We also have one more expert, Aju G. Nair, who is working as Senior Associate Corporate Innovation at eHub. He handles the new product initiatives, programs, uh, uh, manages corporate innovation programs for leading corporates, helps in startup raising funds through grants and CVs as part of funding team and launched three cohorts of Lab 32 incubation program. Help portfolio startups raise Indian rupees 120 crore through Lab 32. So this is all about Mr. Aju G. Nair. Mhm. Correct.
Hi, Shivani. Yeah. Hello, Shivani. Are you here? Guys, are we waiting for someone or can we start? Who's the coordinator from MBS, sir?
Abhinav, sir.
Yeah, Harinath.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Sir, am I audible, Abhinav, sir?
Yes, you are audible. Yes, you are audible, sir.
I'm not. I am unable to hear you, Abhinav, sir.
I can hear you.
Hello.
Can you just increase the volume?
Who's connecting me? Hey everyone, if there is anyone else facing the same issue, please let the
ఇక్కడ రావట్లేదు మరి నాకు అదే
Hey Harinath, we are able to hear you.
యా యా ఓకే ఓకే సార్
సార్ వాల్యూమ్ తగ్గియండి.
వినపడుతుందా సార్ ప్లీజ్ అన్మ్యూట్ చేస్తాను సార్ వినో సార్ ప్లీజ్ అన్మ్యూట్ సార్ No, sir, please unmute, sir. Vinod, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, can you please unmute, sir?
I'm waiting for Shivani from T Hub side. Shivani, are you here? Yes, she is here. I think I can see her. Okay.
Sorry, madam.
Hi, that's okay. If she's not responding, not a problem. Should we wait for some more time or should we start?
Please start, sir.
Request you to go on mute now.
Vinod, sir. Hello.
You're requested to go on mute. Ordinary, you can go on mute.
Abhinav, sir, I am Harinath here from Mathrusri Engineering College.
Oh, nice. I think I can hear you better now.
Are you hearing me? Are you able
Yeah,
to
I
hear
can
me?
hear you. I can hear you very well.
Yeah. Now you can start the session, sir.
Okay.
Waiting for somebody.
I was asking the same. Are you waiting for some
No,
more people to
no,
join, or should we start?
no, we'll start, sir. We'll start.
Sure, sure. Okay. So before starting, right, I just wanted to introduce one more colleague from our side. That is Aju. Aju, you can switch on your video.
Everyone.
Let's- done with
So Aju is part of our team, and we both collectively work on a lot of design thinking projects, and we give a lot of trainings on design thinking, product development, prototyping, experiment design, and a lot of different aspects of innovation, which comes in a journey. So right now, what I want to do is we have, I think, 20 odd participants.
ఆయన ఫోన్
Why
నాకు
you
వస్తుంది సౌండ్ రావట్లేదు. ఆయన
why
ఫోన్ నాకు
you
వస్తుంది సౌండ్ పర్లేదు.
Sai, you are saying something? Okay, guys, I seriously request you to please keep all of your mics on mute. And this particular design thinking session usually takes over 3 hours to 4 hours of time. We don't have that kind of a time here right now. So what we have tried to do is we have truncated the whole presentation into 1 hour or 1 hour 20 minutes presentation, and trying to give you this particular uh, session. So this is not a one-sided classroom session. Please don't think that I want every one of you to participate. And there are certain number of activities which you have to go through during this particular exercise. Okay, so be very careful. So before we start, I think all of you are inside your homes or wherever you are. I want you to get one good notebook and paper and pencil. So that is most important for you to write now, because it's not about taking notes or anything, but it is all about uh, drawing something, creating some interesting prototypes when we are doing this exercise. So I'll just give you like 30 seconds. I think that is enough for you uh, to grab a paper and pencil quickly. So 30 seconds, I'll be on mute and I'll try to project the slides from my side, and then I think we'll go on. Guys, can anyone confirm? Aju, can you confirm? Can you see the screen or not?
See the screen, sir. No issue.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Sure, sure. And I think I hope all of you have got your papers and pencils with you, and you have it along with you. So what I request is whenever there is a conversation, there is a question, feel free to put that across. And what I want you to do is how you put the question is type that in chat box, and I will open up all of you to speak in some time so that we can all share our ideas. Sharing is very important. So what I want you to do before the session is just be free, make your mind completely free for 1 hour right now, and just don't think about anything. Just concentrate on the slides what you're presenting and the kind of content we are delivering it to you, because design thinking is one of the most forward thinking framework when it comes to innovation. So you all of you are students, you want to become entrepreneurs someday, you want to run product firms, you want to create interesting businesses, and you also want to make sure that you are creating interesting business opportunities for yourself as well as the companies you're working for. So design thinking is one of the foremost way of thinking. So it is not a syllabus, or it is not particular set of processes you have to do, but it is more like the way you structure your thought process. So when we start our design thinking presentation, right? So let us start by saying or checking something, right? What is design thinking as per you? I want you to write in the chat box. Okay, I want every one of you to type anything. What is design thinking as per you? So I'll wait for 30 seconds. I'll wait for your comments and see if I can see somebody has any view on it. Okay, nobody has any view on it. I think are people listening to me, or just I'm like speaking from one
Yeah,
side?
yeah. We have one answer. Pavan Kumar Reddy says it's a way of thinking to solve certain problems.
Okay. Okay.
We have 24 folks from the college. I think, we should ideally have at least 5 to 10 people telling us, what your thought process is. Here, I don't
Yeah.
think there is like a right or wrong answer here. It's just design thinking. What is, does that ring a bell to you guys? Like, what does that mean to you guys? Okay, product that you're designing to human-centered problems. Okay, that's a really specific answer. Good one there.
You
Others
don't
like,
need to go to Google or anything. Okay, so the whole presentation is structured to tell you what is design thinking, how to frame your mind. I don't think so. Like, are people interested, or like, I don't know, right? I don't see any responsive thing because these sessions usually work with a lot of interaction. Okay, process of building a minimum viable product. Okay, interesting. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for two more answers. Till then, we'll not move ahead because next sessions are completely interactive, and I want you to all of you to.
Also, to empathize your product or to ideate anything else means you are thinking of a design. So we'll emphasize what is a product. First, we'll decide what is meant by product, and
Hmm.
you'll ideate you'll go into ideation process. Means the thought process is in this way that first you need to empathize what you want to do, what you want to design, what you want to ideate, how I should start up with this one. So I can go in such a way. What is meant by design thinking?
Hmm. Okay.
there are
Right. Sai, are
empathy.
you a student or a faculty? I just want to check.
I'm faculty.
I know. I got that. After your answer, I understood. Okay.
There are two more
Okay. Nice.
answers in the chat. Like Rajesh says
Hmm.
about product shapes and specification at low cost.
Mm-hmm.
Then Prithvi says making easy in daily work by building desirable products.
Okay. Interesting. Nice. Nice. Okay. See, there are many interesting things all of you have spoken, right? Even Sai said it's all about empathy, and someone said it is human-centered problems, minimum viable product shapes and specifications at low cost. Someone is saying we have to create which is completely based on building a desirable product. Okay, canvas model and iterating. Okay, building a canvas model and iterating. Okay, so there are quite a few answers right now I can see. Right. So I think let us begin with some interesting things right now. Okay. Um, Ajay, can you see the screen? Okay.
Yes, you might want to full screen.
Yeah, I think I'm just Now we'll start something very interesting right now. Okay, now that all of you have a little started the conversations. Now what Aju will take you through is something called 30 circle challenge. Okay, 30 circle challenge. You will be given only 3 minutes to do this. And before we go on further and understand what is design thinking, right? So what Aju will do is Aju will send you a link in the chat box. I want every one of you to download that particular canvas and open up in your paint. So hope I think you all of you can open up that particular thing. Okay, Aju, go on, take this particular this.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, everyone. What I'll do right now is, so we usually take these kind of similar design thinking workshop for, like, of course, for colleges, students, and everything. To the most part, this works in context for like the corporates that we works with, right? So for one of some of the most common like a response that we get is like, if the team that we're dealing with is some sort of a software development team, or like a some sort of product team, or like a testing team, or like, for some time, like maybe scientists. To the most part, some of the common comments that we get is like, I'm not a design person, like I don't know how to make products, I don't know how to design UX. The first thing that your mind goes is like, you the poster design kind of a thing that you do for your, like, college fest or whatever. That is one. Another is the UX, the UI UX part of things that you see. Another thing is like illustrations, your Photoshop and everything, right? So design thinking as a process is way beyond all of that, right? So what we're going to do right now is like, this is a simple warm-up exercise, I would say. It's a simple warm-up exercise to get you guys started, to get things interactive. So what we will do right now is, I think I will give you, Abhinav, we can give them 3 minutes, right? We will give you 3 minutes. What I'm going to send to you guys is a link.
3 minutes.
Yeah, I will send you a link right now. You guys can see, you guys can open that link right now. uh, yeah, please let me know if it is not working. So what you will see right now is a canvas with 30 circles. What we want you guys to do is to make maximum number of recognizable objects with this limitation that you have. Oftentimes in our life, like, we are subjected to, we are asked to build some stuff out of constraints that you guys get, right? So this is like a good start for you guys to start ideating on what you guys can creatively build with the constraints that you guys have here. The constraints that you guys have here is basically only 30 circles that you guys will be seeing. And what you guys will be doing is to make recognizable objects. So in the canvas that I've sent you, you'll see 30 circles in horizontal and vertical. What we want you to do is to, there are many circles, and what will you make out of it? You guys can make cricket balls, footballs, or clocks, or whatever. I'm not giving you ideas for anything that you guys can make out of this 30 circles. We will count that. And after this, what we will be doing is, I'll be asking you, how many objects you could make from this 30 circles that we were talking about. And then after this, I will ask you to put the number of uh, objects that you guys could make from the 30 circles, and I will go to one by one to, like, get a perspective on, like, how you guys did, what you guys did, right? So I will give you more details after this session. I don't want to give out a lot of details. So I'll just repeat what is to be done. The link that I've sent you guys is a canvas with 30 circles. This is called 30 circles challenge. What you guys have to do is to make recognizable objects, recognizable drawings using those 30 circles. It could range from footballs to clocks to traffic signals to anything wild that you can think of. There is no restriction on the kind of things that you can make out of this 30 circles, right? Do whatever, think wild, draw whatever you can in that 30 circles. And how you guys do it, you guys can paste that in your paint and start drawing that. And after this, I'll take the number of objects that you guys could come out. And is that clear? If there is any doubt, you guys can put in the chat or unmute yourself and ask right now. I would wait for 10 seconds. It's quite simple. 30 things, 30 circles. Make whatever that you can make out of that 30 circles. It could be of circle or however, whatever you want.
I
I
think
hope.
Aju, you can start the timer.
Yeah, we will start 3 minutes from now. I hope there is no trouble in opening that link. If there is anything, the participants or the faculty that there is can tell me, so that I can, I can truncate those also. Yeah, and the time starts now.
Guys, hope you are able to download that link and like working on your paint. Right? I want you to create as many as objects as possible. Like I just said, like you can create n number of things. So the whole thing is to like, yeah, Sai, tell me.
Yes, we can do it very easily.
Cool, cool.
Posted in the paint also. It's coming. It's working fine.
Sure, sure.
It's working fine. Yeah.
Thanks, sir. Guys, we have 30 seconds more. Okay, okay, everyone. I think that's time. I hope there is some creative stuff for us to see. I hope all of you guys are done. If done, give me a thumbs up in the chat.
No, no, I think they can say what are the number of objects they have made, right?
Yep, yep. We can start with that.
Oh,
Everyone, I
okay, I
want,
think stop drawing. Yeah.
yeah, everyone, what we want is to put the number of objects that you guys could come up with. Yes, thanks. I want you all to put in the chat how many objects has been covered here. Two objects. Okay. My count is 6. Nice. Right now, Sai is leading with 6. What about Naveen, Krishna, Harinath, Prem Kumar, Ganesh, Rajesh? Rajesh is 3, Bharat is 1. Okay. More guys, we would need at least 2 more and we will move ahead. Then we'll, if right now Sai Pavan is leading, I think after that we'll see what, Pavan sir have done with the exercise.
There is Venkatramana, Sampath. Are you guys like working
Around,
on it? Yeah.
looks like I think there are more people are still trying to do. I think one of the extra constraint that I missed to mention is, of course, the time itself. Okay, looks like that's about it.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, Joe.
Sai,
I think we'll move on. I think the response is very limited here. Honestly.
yes. Okay. Sai Pawan sir, like, would you mind sharing the screen and showing us, like, what 6 objects that you did? Or you can, yes. Okay. Okay, you made a full contemporary art here, an abstract art, wall art here. It's looks very creative. Thanks, sir.
What is
I
that?
see a,
What is that you have made? Can you just like explain?
I can see a clock over here. I can see a,
Metal ball, this is
yeah.
silver color.
Nice.
Cricket ball and that small tennis ball, and this is a small button-like metal.
Nice.
That
Okay.
little bit poor in the drawing in the computer mouse.
Yes, yes. This is a good art, by the way. You would see some of this on some people's walls. These things. Good one, sir. Uh,
Thank you.
would anyone else like to give it a go? Okay. If there's anyone, you can put that in the chat. So, like, one of the key things that you guys should notice here is, like, so most of you might have thought, like, the easy thing that to go to, right? Like the clocks, the balls. The balls may also, like, you will find variations of baseball, cricket ball, football, basketball, like traffic lights and like that. Usually what we have seen is there is some creative folks who go for, like, extremely diverse topics and extremely diverse, like, ideas. We have had, like, a student last time when we were doing, what he did was, he for the 30 circles, he designed a time clock. And what he did was, he just started drawing, like, 1 p.m, from 1 a.m to, like, 12 p.m. He just started drawing everything. So like that, he just made a 30 circles of just uh, clock handles just moving around. Another is another person basically connected the old or circles and made something insanely creative out of that. As some have connected and made, like, buildings out of it. Some have made logos out of it. Some have made, like, UTC Technologies logo out of it. Some have started written their own college's name out of it. So the idea is was to push boundaries and make you guys think wild on, like, what all can be done. One of the interesting example is, like, your faculty Pavan sir itself, where was like a diverse topic of, like, I can see could see color palettes to, like, balls to like dots to like everything there, right? So good one there. Over to you, Abhinav. If there's anything else you have to add.
Hey, thank you, Arjun. I think you can present it on my behalf. I'll start speaking. So what you have done right now, this 30 circle exercise is called a creative confidence building exercise. Okay. So most of, I think let me speak with Pawan. Pawan, if you can just unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how was it like when you started doing this, right? So were you ready, not ready?
Many ideas will be flowing in your mind. So, as time constraint, we need to do how many ideas you can put forward, how
Mm-hmm.
many ideas you can generate in your 3 minutes of time or 2 minutes of time or whatever. It is very much feasible solution. The idea should be unique and it should be feasible also.
Correct.
Many ideas will roll over in the mind actually.
Okay.
Because
Feasibility and all that stuff, you have only created those constraints again in your mind, but that's okay. Interesting. So you are
pardon?
not ready. So feasibility, usability, all those things, there are more constraints
Yeah,
to it, right? So before
yeah,
we saying all these things, you have added few more constraints. Now this particular circle challenge is very simple yet very, if I can say, it will trigger your gray matter in your mind, and it builds your creative confidence. Right now, you understood that there is something you can draw also, right? People who don't draw anything in their life, even they know, like, oh, I think this can be done, right? There are interesting things which you made, which you never thought of. So that's how a design has to work. Okay. Now let's go to the next slide. So this particular quote gives you what we have done right now, right? If you're interested in design, the best thing to do is to observe how people interact with each other and things they use. So it is design is basically is a if I can say, is a reminder or as an extraction from what people want to interact with their environment. And this particular quote has been done by Julie Zhao. Julie is a lady who has designed one of the most stickiest product on digital platform ever, that is called Facebook. So she's the designer for Facebook, and she has designed things in such a way that it is loved by so many people, and we started using it uh, in and out at a point of time, and we interact with Facebook like it had one of the most amounts of time spent by any person on it right now, because the mobile thing, it has gone to Instagram and other WhatsApp and all. But she works, she's a product designer at Facebook, and we spend a lot of time on Facebook products. So they know what they're speaking, they know what's design thinking, right? So they are saying that it is the way, design is a way where you need to observe how people interact with each other or their environment. Okay, go on, Arjun. Now I want you to see this particular book. Okay, this name of this book is Codex Lester. Okay, what is so special about this book? Okay, this particular book is considered to be the most costliest book ever uh, ever on earth. And do you know who wrote it? I think any guesses there? Okay, no problem. So this book has been written by Leonardo da Vinci, and it has been bought by Bill Gates, and he paid $30 million in the year of 1994. Okay, go on, Ajay. Next slide. So as I said, the cost of the book in 1994 was $30 million. I think today it will be over $150 million. So $150 million for one book. Why is that? What is so special about that book? And believe me, what Leonardo has written in that book, 50 to 60% is not implementable. Scientifically, it is proven that they are impractical too, right? But what is so special about this book? It is the author himself. Leonardo Da Vinci, what he has done here is he always used to have a designer mindset, an experimental mindset. right? You just have to go. So the creative confidence exercise, what we did right now, is a very, very like a fraction of it what Leonardo was capable of. So he was writing about flying machines. He was writing about how to do a radioactive nuclear warheads to automatic suction pumps and all. So it is so diverse. His mind was. He's called a polymath. He's not called an author or a designer. He's called a polymath. Polymath. So he converges a lot of different things what he observes from the environment, and he took notes. So Bill Gates wanted to have a peek into his mind, which is that book called Codex Lister. And what Bill Gates did, he digitized the whole book and opened it for public. You can also go and have a look at it. So this is the kind of value which the world gives to a designer, to an ace designer and person with design mindset. Okay, go on to the next slide. So what we'll do right now is I requested you to have one interest paper and pencil with you or a pen with you. Just now this particular exercise will start. It will only take 120 seconds. The whole concept is you have to put your pen or a paper pencil on the paper, and you are not allowed to lift the hand, and you should not look at the paper and see the image what you're seeing here. I want you to draw. I think I just have 120 seconds with me, so your time starts now. You should look at the image what you have in front of you, the cartoon image. You should not lift your hand. You should start drawing the same image what is there. It's only 120 seconds for you. Be very quick. I think it can be crude, but you should not. And don't look at the paper. Just look at the image here. Okay, 120 seconds. Carefully see the image and draw quickly on the paper with a pen or a pencil. And don't lift your hand at all. Okay, 60 seconds are up. I think 60 seconds more. Carefully see at the image and draw. Okay, 20 seconds more. Okay, your time is up. Okay. I think just now you can see what you are drawing. Okay, and how many people have are done? I think all of you should be done. If not, uh, Naresh, are you done? Naresh, Krishna, PV Prasad, Saujanya. Okay, okay, done. Only I think Sai is your faculty is listening to this particular session. I think so. He's only responding to all the questions. Okay, so let us work with Sai then. Uh, Sai, can you switch on your camera and show what you have drawn?
Yeah.
So you're trying to show, and I'm unable to see your screen. Okay.
Able to see it.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. You keep it little more nearer to your screen. Little back, little back. Yeah, now I can see it. Nice, nice eye. Okay, thank you. I think interesting, right? Your faculty has drawn something, and it is so crude, and but he was trying to make some shapes out of it, and trying to find that contours, right? It is in design parlance we also it is called countering. But the interesting part is this exercise is called stoking, right? Stoking is something which you are not ready for, and we just give you this particular problem and this particular challenge, and you have to do this. So that is what stoking is. And this is, I've just given you a gist of it, how stoking happens. I've given you, like Aju said in 30 cycles challenge, it was more is to build up greater confidence, and this particular exercise is to drill you down that you don't, to say that you're not creative enough. That's a greater confidence builder, and this is a stoking exercise. And the constraints are same, right? There is constraint of time, there is constraint of all the rules. You cannot lift the hand, you should not look at the paper, and still you have to look at something and draw. See, this is how something in real environment happen. There are so many constraints which you have to deal with, and you have to think like a designer to solve all those things. Go to next slide, Arjun. Right, what happened right now? You were completely uncomfortable when I said, and most of you are not speaking also, right? And this whole session is uncomfortable for you, but that is what makes a good designer, right? Being comfortable with uncomfortable things, right? That's the first rule, right? And second, it was messy. You can see how the diagram of Sai was there, right? It was all messy around, and he could not see like what was happening in the. So designers also starts with messy work, right? You don't think that you in the every first ball you'll hit a six. It's all about the progression, not the perfection, right? So, but understand, even though it is messy, but when you start working on these interesting parts, design parts, at the end of it, you have to clean all these things and make it an interesting product because you're dealing with humans at the end of the day. And third, of course, you are not ready. I understand. So before you start, right, you want to be part of this design thinking approach, and you want to impart design thinking as a particular mindset. Not ready is a status quo. You will never be ready. And please understand, the good designers are always ready before they start, right? So you impart, that is the basic premise of this mindset. And I'll make sure you will remember this kind of not ready thing very soon again in this presentation. So this is what happened right now, right? Go on, Aju. Now let us start how, so design thinking, because design is part of it and you are a designer, right? So you impart your thinking as a designer. So let us start our journey and go forward. So designers actually, when we are say how do they think, that is a premise of whole discussion, right? We need to crack the code. How do designers think, and what's going on in their mind when they are trying to trying to create something which is not there at all, or trying to solve something which is not there at all. So first thing is, so what they do is, I think Sai Pawan, when he started saying that it is all about humans, right, and having empathy, and somebody said human-centered design. So this is the language which IDEO uses it, and there are so many design principles which happen. Stanford uses in one interesting methodology, and there is MIT Media Labs uses one interesting methodology, and IDEO has a human-centered design approach. So there are many approaches to design, but all the approaches, there is one thing in is very common. The whole common aspect is human, or the user who is using it, right? So keeping human at the middle of it, or a user at the epicenter, and trying to think what's going on around it, and creating products for them, or any services from them, is very very important, or the first step to design thinking, right? I'll read out this particular statement, right? Design thinking has a human-centered core. It encourages organizations or individuals to focus on the people or users they're creating for, which leads to better products, services, and internal processes. Also, that you might not like your attendance systems which is going on, or you might not like how your curriculum is going on, right? There is a problem because students, if they are the people who are enjoying that particular, or they are the people whom you're designing certain process, right? You have to keep them in between when you're designing certain things. Or if for a student, if you're trying to create a particular product in your summer internships, or you want to, even in your final year project, you have to think who is the user of that particular product, how would he like to use that, right? So then you sit down and create solutions with your business requirements, and then the first question, as I said, you ask is what's the human need behind it, right? So we will concentrate on something called very important thing that is called human need. But that does not stop there. I know human need is to have a car which is completely electric and solar powered, and you don't require any other external thing to charge it. It's a free of cost transportation for your life. That's a human need. But is it really technically feasible and economically viable? Is the question which you have to ask. So these are the constraints which will happen to you when you start dealing with a human need. Human need might be very completely different. Like Elon Musk want to create a Mars colony, but is it technology feasible now? Economically viable right now? The answer is 50-50%. He's trying to create that technological feasibility and economical viability now, right? And NASA started its space program so many years before, and tried to launch something on moon, right? It took for them it's a very costly thing, but when SpaceX and ISRO came into picture, we made it more economically viable, and the material sciences have made sure that it is technologically feasible too, right? So this is how it happens, right? There are so many constraints which happen around your need, and that is what you need to be very aware of. So let us start. What we discussed right now is there is a very sweet spot between desirability, feasibility, and viability. We spoke about three things, right? Human needs, that is desirability, and next is technological feasibility and economic viability. The the when you draw a Venn diagram, the intersection or union of all these things is what the shaded area here. The ikigai of design thinking is this, right? So you have to find out that sweet spot and then start your process. So we'll go from one part to other part. So here in this presentation, we'll not speak about viability and feasibility because that takes a 20 hours course which we have to find out all those things. But let us start understanding desirability as an aspect of it. So when I said you have to work on desirability and aspect and create products out of it, what are the benefits you'll get? One, you'll understand what what do your users or what is your person who is using that, customers, clients, students, whoever it is, are there any unmet requirements, and you can understand better with this design thinking process. Now, second is you can generate processes or solutions which are very revolutionary in nature, not just incremental. Incremental just patches one by one, but you can do something very revolutionary here. So that can be possible for design thinking approach. And third is because you are trying to create scratches very quickly, you are trying to create something very minimum, right? So the cost of failure is very less. So that is the reason the risk associated with this design thinking process for creating new ideas is also very less. Right. Next, the most important aspect of design thinking and with this approach, the benefit which you get is there is lot of learning because you constantly iterate and you constantly learn from the user, take feedback from user to make it faster. So I'm trying to show these benefits before, not at the end, because these are the benefits you get out of it before you learn the whole thought process of design thinking. Right. So what are the phases of design thinking? There are very categorically six phases of design thinking, and I'll show you. So this particular design thinking phases are suggested by IDEO as an institution. Next, I'll take you to MIT Media Labs concept, which are very similar. But I just wanted to show you this different thought process and school of thoughts. The reason is I want you to learn as much as possible for design thinking. So everything starts first with framing a question. So you have to frame the most appropriate question. See, the solution starts by framing a question, right? Asking the right question is also very important. So go to Coursera, you'll find tons of courses only to tell you that how to frame a question, right? So identify the driving question that inspires others to search for creative solutions. So first, frame a question, and next, the second part is gather inspiration, because you already found when you're trying to frame a question, right, that is where the human need will come, and you've already framed a question. Example, how can I make my college attendance systems much better? That can be the question. And gather inspiration, you have to think and interact with your environment. Are there any biometric attendance? Can there be a face recognition? Or there can be any other interesting thing which is completely contactless, right? You gather inspiration from different places. And then the next third phase is to generate ideas. To generate ideas is there can be completely breakthrough idea which you can think. So don't worry. There, you can go to such an extent, say that I want to deploy a chatbot or a bot which will count or say hello to you when comes, and that is an attendance system for you, right? That can be, or you can say one of the student can come and say that there is an interesting way. The first hour should be the sports hour, and people who come and play the game, those are called, they will be marked present for that particular thing. So I think you're thinking from the user's point of view and trying to say that first hour, so it'll they'll give you a lot of exercise. They can come and work with the students or chat with the students and then come to classes, or they might even bunk from there too. So there can be a lot of different ideas which can happen. And next, now because you have those ideas of the products right now, fourth part is to make ideas tangible. Now it was an idea in your mind, now make it with rough prototypes can be made in very different types, right? You can make it on paper, you can make it digitally on native prototyping, or you can just draw something on a paper with a pen and paper, and then show it to someone, right? I think you can make presentations. There are many ways to show prototype. Now, fifth phase is to the prototypes which you have made, go and test and learn. You can go and ask the users what's happening. You can go and check with a particular user, give him a rough prototype, and then find out is it working well or not. If you have if you have a design for a better solar battery, right, or something else, right? You have all the labs with you. You can go and build a very quick prototype and start testing it and take feedback from the ecosystem. And the last part, after you do all these things, right, the most important thing is to build a story. Now you have a story with you, right? You have found a question or a problem, and then come back. You came back with an interesting solution, and then you are offering that solution to your users. So that's the important story you craft for making your product or a service a success. Now, what you have here is MIT Media Lab's way of doing it. Whatever I spoke is what here. So first, what you do is you empathize with your user, right? So you understand what is going through, what are the pain points, what they have, and then define a problem. You frame a question, and then you ideate more and more solutions there, and then you create a prototype, and then you test it with your peers and users to take feedback. And it's a iterative process, right? You test, you take feedback, again you empathize, then again you will say can it be much better, then you again put a patch on it. And it is a very incremental as well as a revolutionary idea which you are doing it. So this is the process, or another version of design thinking what you can deploy. So let us do an activity right now. I know how many people might do it, but it's a very interesting activity to do. So what I want you to do in this activity is I want you to create a simple x-axis. So you can see, right, plus and minus. It's an inverted T kind of a thing where you can see first quadrant and fourth quadrant, right? So I want you to create this particular uh, graph in your paper with a pen. So what you do is think about an idea, or sorry, I should not say idea. Think about a day in your life. It can be yesterday, or choose a day, right, in your life, and think about the things what has happened on that day. Let us consider yesterday, right? You woke up, you had breakfast. It might not be so tasty, or you then you went for a walk or a run, and you found out it was so energetic for you, and then you had a call from your uh, uh, call from your faculty saying that there's an assignment pending for you, which is not good at all, and you want to work with your friends and chit chat with your friends in the evening, which was very nice. So whatever you feel good, make it on the positive side of things, and whatever you are not feeling good, take it to negative side of things, and draw little small infographics to it, right? So create some diagrams to it which you can associate with. I'll give you 1 minute for this particular exercise, and just draw what are things happening in your life, ups and downs, and later we can discuss uh, how was the day for you, and how was the low point, or how was the point. Right? You can even add few writings, or if you want to comment anything, right? The day was not at all good for you, or you can draw. It can be the crudest of the form. There is no points for you to make good drawings here. Okay, I'll wait for 30 seconds, or I think a minute now, for you to draw. Hope all of you have drawn. I have only one person who's listening actively to me. Sai, I think, have you drawn?
Yes.
I am also here, sir. Harinath.
You're also here, but you're not speaking. Only this is the time you spoke. I was like trying to bring in conversations with you. Want to speak with all of your students. That's okay. Okay, nice. So have you drawn? The name is Saujanya, but I know it is Hari. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Did you do this exercise too?
yeah. I have done it,
Okay, can you just switch on your camera and just show me what you have done?
madam. Camera on. 1 minute, sir.
No, sure.
That's a
I think if it is taking time, I think Sai, meanwhile, you can show.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay, Sai, can you just explain me what you have drawn? Like, what is that high point and low point in your thing? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Can I speak,
You're
sir?
on mute. You're on mute. Sai,
Unmute.
you're on mute.
Sir, I'm Harinath here.
Okay. Yeah, Hari. Yeah, just okay. Now you want to showcase?
So this one, the high point. This is my. This day I got admission in engineering. The first picture.
Okay.
The next one is I got married on 28th October 92.
Okay.
The low point is I met with an accident in October 90. That is low
Okay.
point.
Okay. Okay. Nice.
That's all I have given. Only three instances.
Three incidences. Okay. Okay, Sai, you tell me what's your
Yeah. Here I have gone through a graph, small
correct.
sinusoidal waveform. And here I have to exercise it correctly daily. You have to exercise it, and that is one high point here. We have to watch some good, knowledgeable show rather than seeing for the movies or any other
Can you
thing.
show it to the screen? Can you show
We
it to
have
the
to use
screen?
the product of practice.
Yeah. Now I can see.
Yeah, yeah. You have to watch some good shows so that knowledge
Uh-huh.
increases when you are detaining your time in television. You
Mm-hmm.
need to find something feasible or something useful in the form,
Pawan,
and we need to.
Pawan, rise it. Rise your paper a bit. Now it is.
Correct. Yeah.
And this one is of we need to stop gossiping rather than gossiping. We need to think about new ideas. Idea generation should be there. And this on low side. Gossiping is on low side, and I'll be getting more number of calls. I think personally I have to reduce this making calls. And one more is I sleep a little bit more time. So I think this is on low side of for me. Should not sleep
Okay.
more. That's
No,
on a funny
interesting. Interesting. Nice, nice. I think if you can just keep the low points, you can just show it again. Right?
yeah.
Okay. So now you said there are three low points, right? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So discuss about your second low point. What was it? You said there is a phone call which you came to
Yeah,
you and you.
I will getting more number of calls, so I have to reduce the calls. The duration will
Okay.
go for around about half an hour, 1 hour, even
Hmm.
more.
Okay.
So personally, I think that that is a low point for me. I need to should not prolong the discussions more. If it is
Okay.
on a highest, if it is on a feasible side or any generative side, that is fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, Sai, who were calling you and why was it? So it was
So,
little
we,
low.
like my friends used to call me. They are in US presently. They have shifted to another places. They
Mm-hmm.
used to call and we used to just chit chat or gossip for some things. And it
Okay.
has to go for hours actually. And
Hmm.
at that time, you'll be disturbing your sleep. In turn, you'll be sleeping for more hours in the morning. Because
Hmm.
on just in one case, your
Hmm.
total day routine is going to disturb.
Correct.
So on that note, I feel that I need to reduce some calls. Because many calls will
Understood.
be coming.
Understood. Understood. And there is a little obligation when they're calling, you have to answer, or else there is social
Yeah, that
obligation
is
to
fine.
you.
That is fine. Which I make calls for on higher side. It will
Hmm.
go for more number of times. That's what I'm saying. The note is of on a good side. I can keep it in the upper part. There is
Correct.
on a,
Correct.
that's on a lower part. I feel that it is on the lower side. For
Understood.
me personally, which I feel.
Got it. Got it. It is all about you as a person. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sai, for sharing your insights for us. Okay. Okay, Aju, you can project the presentation. So what we have done right now, I think when we are seeing the emotion map, or it's called emotion maps. Okay. and these are also called customer journey maps, right? These are very, very important tools when it comes to creating a particular service or a product, right? You have to understand how your user or how your particular person. Now let us think Sai as a user right now, right? He is going through certain problems, or he has some uncomfortable, or he's not so happy with certain phases in his day, which which he has to attend a lot of phone calls. He's consuming a lot of time, and he's not happy with it. And this, we can simply say that what is a solution for it, right? Now we can go and say that just don't answer the calls. That's the easiest solution. But it is not it is not will not solve his problem. The problem is much deeper. When we started inquiring Sai on like what was the problem, how, or where is it happening, there are people who are coming calling from outside internationally to him for certain particular aspect of a context, right? So there are a lot of constraints and context Sai is, and he's trying to do it, and there are a lot of phone calls he has to answer, right? This is the problem. Can this be much better? And always please understand, you so you have seen the map of the Sai, right? So you have seen his day, and you can see like it was very similar to one which is in the slide. uh, yeah, just go to the next slide. So what we did here is we asked Sai many times, like why, what was happening, why it was happening. So go to the emotional side of things and be very contextual when you're asking few things, right? Work with the user very closely. So he can be happy, he can be very happy, or he can be moderately not so comfortable. I've just given you like dummy text, so don't go by it. I don't know what is the problem you are trying to face. So that is the reason you have to understand users' mood at different points of time. So what we try to do here is we concentrated on lowest points so that we can understand the problem which Sai has right now. And now what we do in your next slide, we will reframe the whole problem, right? It into a problem, into an open-ended question. Okay. So here's problem of having more calls and less time. Let us consider this as a problem and let us reframe this problem. How can I solve size time management, or by efficiently by handling all the calls he get? That is a problem. Now it was very different from his starting point, right? Now we have converted that into an open-ended question, because I am not framing an answer here. Now I'm telling you how to frame a question, right? How can I solve something, right? Like suppose let us think about Hari. Hari has given not a day but a chronological order of his important part of his life where he met with an accident, right? How can I solve something, right? If I have done an interview with Hari, he could have told me that there was something called overspeeding, there is an infrastructure issue, there might be some distractions for him, or there might be a pillion rider. So there might be n number of reasons for him to have that accident. You can say when you go there, right, you might find like Harry might have got distracted by uh, certain light or certain problem, or some pedestrians might have come and he might have problem. So the question is, how can I solve the problem of pedestrians or crossings, uh, so that there can be no accidents for people like Hari? Or there can be an alert system for Hari, which can tell Hari saying that there's a pedestrian ahead, right? So there can be a dash cam. I don't know what it is. So that is how you have to reframe your whole question. And it's an open-ended question. You should not keep constraints again here, or put multiple choices or very objective. Keep it very subjective and open. So that is the second step. So now what you have done is from customer empathy map, you have understood what's our ups and lows or highs uh, and highlights and lowlights in your life, and then you pick up that issue and try to dig deeper with ask why kind of a concept, and then what you do is you reframe your question. Now in your next slide, you can see there can be many solutions to that particular problem, right? So now the problem is Hari has to find out a better way to make sure that distractions on the road are minimal, right? So what are the problems? What are the solutions? One, we can say hurry that don't drive at all. That can be easier one. Or second, we can say hurry saying that have Tesla is doing distraction mechanism or distraction or identification mechanism. That can be second. Or third, we can say there can be a small or always a navigator kind of a person outside who can tell you which is the safest way to do or which is not. Or the fourth option, we can work with government, say that there has to be fencing like BRTS system, and they can work with so that there can be little safe there. So there are n number of solutions around it. So in the next slide, what you can see is Aju, right? So you can see there are n number of solutions you have. So you don't select the solution by yourself. You go to your user. Now, if you're designing something for Hari or you're designing something for Sai, go to them, say that this is a particular solution I've created. Is it an aspirin or a vitamin for you, right? Aspirin this is an analogy, right? Which our CEO also uses. Aspirin is something which will solve the problem which you have right now. Vitamin is something which will make it little better, right? So you have something happening very nice and making it a little better. So design thinking approach hardly deals with vitamin, but it works with aspirin kind of problems. So that is the reason what we have done is we identified using empathy maps what is the problem Sai is facing or Hari is facing. Then we have to come up. We have done a little bit of interrogation with them and an interview with them to find out what are the problems or what is the real source of problem and how can he. And then we embarked on a journey where we wanted to create few solutions based on creative thinking, and we have told them that these are 4 or 5 ways you can solve the problem. Now think about all the solutions and take the feedback, and then again you have to put a filter as a designer. Is it really solving a problem or just making his life little better, right? If it is an aspirin, then go ahead, right? So the next part, what you have to do, I think this is the exercise. It's not for now. When we have good amount of time later, we can do it. So what you have to do right now is after you take feedback from the user, it's time to do prototyping. Draw your solution on a paper or a PowerPoint presentation. You need not create an app or you not create a physical thing. You can use a simple paper and a pen to draw your solution. Later you can, so that is the first part. Draw it on paper, right? Designer starts everything with pen and paper. So after you draw your solution, then go back to your user and try to get more feedback from them. Feedback is very key. Now you have seen the iterative process of design thinking, right? Where you have seen what's happening and how it is converted or stratified into 5 stages. So the fifth element is feedback, because with that feedback you can empathize with your user again. So after you get feedback, the next thing is prototyping stage. In prototyping, you can go to 3D printers to create something, or you can go to interesting, interesting paper prototyping tools which are already there in lot of apps are there to create mockups. So create those prototypes, and again come to more feedback. Now that is an iterative process you have to do as a design thinker, and then create a final product which can be tested out in the market. Now let us go to the next slide, which is my last slide for you. So please understand, right? There are many ways to design particular project problem or design particular solution for a problem or a service for a particular problem. But the most important thing is to just get started. Don't wait or ponder upon it or crib upon it, right? You go to your user, test with them, try to create mockups, and start doing it, right? We work with a lot of startup founders at T Hub. Everyone, right? All the successful founders have, suppose if they're building a successful enterprise right now, they might have nearly 5 to 10 failures before, right? It might be just an idea stage failure, or it might be a mock-up stage failure or a prototype stage failure. So there is a lot of pivoting which happens for all the founders. So be very cognizant of the fact that there will be a lot of problems which you will face the most important thing is to start and use this particular framework what I've given you today, and to have that entrepreneurial and designer mindset to go on, try, test new things. People might be happy, people might not be happy, there might be very, very moody. So those are the feelings you need to have. Get that incorporated in your service or a product, then you will see a lot of change happening. And you will also know when to stop a particular problem, because you will understand this is called fail fast attitude. Mark Zuckerberg always says that, right? You, if you have something, do it very quickly. In India, ICICI Bank is very important for that. They implement a lot of banking products which are technologically advanced. They fail fast and retract them back and come back with a better product. So that is the most important thing. So with this, I end my presentation and I open up for few questions. You can type the questions in your chat box, or you can unmute yourself, and you can ask me if you have any problem. I think Shivani is also here. So what you can do is, even you can text Shivani if you have any questions later. Uh, Later, once you go and start reading more about design thinking. Okay, so I'll stop here and I'll wait for your questions for some time.
Yeah, it's a good session, Abhinav, and thank you, Mr. Raju, for accompanying with Abhinav. And as you said, there are many phases in the design thinking, but the designer has to be on the toes actually, because the need of the humans changes from time to time, as I see, because he has to update the design, or he has to update with the solutions, and means every time it's a challenge for the designer. It is not an easy task, or it's not an just an one day process or on the go process, and he has to be on the ready go process, like what I feel it as, because every time for testing, you have to learn from the mistakes again to test. It is a little bit complicated thing, but there are very good phases what we have explained through the point of this one.
So I
And
get. I think there is a. The question is very interesting question, right? But the answer is very simple here. So there is something called need and wants, right?
yeah,
So designer has to think on. So the constant iteration process after you launch the product is only on wants. But when you work on the core product itself, right? So it is on the need of the product.
okay, yeah, I got the answer, and
Now you can hear me.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can hear
So,
you.
yeah, product is at the core of it, sorry, user is at the core of it, and then try to create a product, and designing the process. What I told you, the design thinking process happens when you're building for a core human need, right? For you, right? Example, I'll tell you, the problem or the product premise was to create a better solution for you to manage your calls or manage your time. That was a core. That core need will stay, but once the product is out, you might have more desires and wants to make it much more beautiful or much more interactive and all, which is a constant iteration process. So as a designer, you need to demarcate between two different things. One is need and one is want of the user. And you should have that ability to demarcate. That's what happens when you start asking why and why question more, so that you can reach to that core and then address that issue. And later it's an iteration process.
Rather than to be on a personal side, on the product side, if
Yeah,
you see, the designer has to be on every time you have to change the
of
change
course.
the design, or
Yes, yes. So that's a constant process. Nobody
yeah,
can
it is a
stop.
constant process. Yes.
Yes, yes. It's a
Because
constant process.
every day the designer is a thinker, and he's a learner also. On
That's right.
the note,
That's right.
pardon?
No, that is right. What you said is right.
Yeah,
So it is a
Designer has to always learn.
so it is an ongoing process, is it not, sir? It will not end with bringing a product to the market. Am I
No,
right? Am I
right.
right?
Design thinking process is a constant process because, as you said, right. I think you, Hari, you have been seen multiple generations on the digital side of things. You remember broadband modems and all for taking internet to 4G or 5G hotspots today, right? It's a stark
Yes.
difference. Right? So the environment is changing. That is the reason. Today, if I say that I will send a particular post which will take 10 days to reach a particular place in India, you will say, thank you, boss, I don't want to do it because the other courier service is doing it in like 4 days or 2 days or one day. Right? Same deliveries are possible. That is because the environment has completely changed. So those because of the conditions and environment being changed constantly, you have to think on your toes. Like Pawan said, it is thinking on toes and constantly going and iterating your product in such a way that you are there. I'll give you a great example. Okay, so think about one of the greatest brand you had like 15 years ago. That was Kodak cameras, right? They were the biggest brand in the world, and they did not. Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they did not design for the new age thing, right? So that's what made them obsolete now. And Samsung or Sony took over, or Nikon took over on digital camera side. Right? Even if Samsung stop designing or or not innovating with the design thinking methodology, they will also become obsolete in the camera segment. Right? So you have to be very aware of what you're doing, and it's a constant process to be on the top of the game. So to be for being top of the game, you have to adopt this methodology. There is no other way.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you, thank you. I think with that we'll conclude the session. We will wait for questions, and over to you, Ajay. You have something to say, and then we can.
I think you covered pretty much. We had some interesting questions from the faculties. I'm interested in still if there is more questions from the students. I think one of the most interesting things is about taking feedback is that taking feedback doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to your customer and asking like this is your problem, what do you think the solution is. You don't ask the you don't ask the customer like what do you think the problem solution should be, right? You try and empathize with the situation to come up with options which could be better for them to make their life easier, like we were trying to solve for Mr. Pavan. Like there is an interesting quote by Henry Ford where like one of the things that he said was like at that time, because like he invented the motor and the car at that time, right? So if just imagine if he had gone and asked his customers like what do you want, like point if basically what he's trying to solve is to go from point A to point B faster, better, right? To solve that problem, the best way to solve that problem at that time is faster horses. So at that time, if he went and asked for a solution for this particular problem of going from A to B, people will say faster horses. But he went to the fundamentals of understanding what is this particular problem, how can I better it, and it was a reiterative process. It came from picking and choosing the technology which is available, which is the tires, the motors, the chassis, the body, and everything, and it came together as a wonderful piece of industry which is thriving right now, which is going to an evolution right now, right? So try and think of problems in like different ways. One of the interesting solutions, one of the interesting problems and examples one of our students used before was the case of an elevator, right? One of the most boring things these days is like to be in an elevator, because like you are not allowed to have more than 3 or 4 people in an elevator. So how do you make that experience better? So we were working with one of the lift manufacturers, one of the major corporations, right? So one of the problem statement was like, how do you make that experience better? One thing is to make the commute from point A, which is the ground floor, to the 10th floor faster. So how do you make that experience better? One solution is to make that make a better vector engineering, like make a magnetic way of pushing this cube of a thing from A to B. Some other interesting idea actually, in fact, came from students. Was like let's introduce mirrors inside so that people are distracted by the fact that it is taking time. So that was interesting thing which is already in the market right now, right? Like you think that this is like it has been standard because this has been thought through by designers. This is a design problem, this is a design solution that people came up with. Because like you start looking at your hair, you start looking at yourself, and like you kind of forget the fact that it's a boring trip from ground floor to the 10th floor. Another thing is people came up with a solution like, let's introduce music in the elevation so that, like, you can just move to the tunes and, like, just take that time in that elevator. So try and come up with problems statements from different angle. One way to look at that problem is the point A from the lift is slow. That is one problem statement. Another problem statement is the trip from point A to point B is boring. The solution for both are different and the impact of both is different. The lift being slow is an engineering problem. The experience being boring is a design and like an emotional problem to solve. So solution that you get for all these things are entirely different. So that's why Abhinav was emphasizing on the fact that looking at the problem in a different angle and coming up with multiple types of solutions so that you get different types of feedback and different type of like answers from the folks that you are talking to. I think we spoke a little too much. I think looks like Pavan sir and Hari, I think we don't have more questions here. I think we can wrap right now.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to wrap. Thank you very much,
Thank
Aju,
you.
for giving examples, and thank you very much for taking time out and being with us. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Uh,
I
Thank you,
personally
sir.
thank from our EDSL, Master's Engineering College, and I thank our HOD sir and also our Chief Coordinator Harinath sir, and also with the EDSL members of other departments. And thank you with the Abhinav sir and Aju sir for taking us your valuable time and giving some inputs on design thinking. And we hope all this phases what you have explained can reach with the students, and they'll be implementing this one. And a few words from our HOD sir, please.
Thank you, Mr. Sai Pawan. It was a wonderful session. I thank the speakers, Mr. Abhinav and Mr. Aju, for their innovative speech, I would call it, trying to initiate or the thought process among the participants. It is a very nice effort. I wish we could have more participants, but because the students right now are having their examinations and all, we could not add more students, increase the strength. However, we promise that we'll do this exercise one more time, probably over a 1 or 2 day session, where it will be offline, it will be more useful to students, because all this exercise, what we are trying to do, are the small tasks, what you're asking the participants to carry out. It will be more meaningful and would be helpful, if you can do it offline, So we'll definitely try to do this, one more time, when the things get back to normalcy. But I thank both the speakers for their wonderful session. I thank all the participants, and I thank the management and the principal for giving us the opportunity to conduct such a wonderful session on behalf of our IAC cell of our college. Thank you, Mr. Harinath and Ms. Sai Pawan, for doing this session, nice, wonderful session. I also thank our senior professor, BNR sir, for being with us throughout the session. And I thank all our faculty and teaching staff and non-teaching staff also for participating students for participating in this event. Thank you all. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also thank Shreya Ambati for coordinating with us and bringing a wonderful lecture from both of the two people here, Abhinav Gupta and Aju J. Nair. The examples what you are quoting will definitely it will be carried over, and it will create an impact among the minds of the students also. Thank you, sir. Thank you to both of you. Sure.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for the effort. Looking forward to seeing like some interesting ideas from you all and seeing you at T Hub sooner than later. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Bye-bye.
very much.
Bye.
Good day.
Thank you.